Welcome to the Bruins Benders podcast, season 2, episode 26. Bruins battling boredom with Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink podcast network. InsideTheRink.com is your one-stop shop for all your NHL and ECHL news, insight, and analysis. Follow on Twitter at inside_the_rink and download the Inside the Rink app to get everything on the website right on your phone. And Smitty will tell us now how you can sign up for ESPN Plus.
Yeah, you can sign up for ESPN Plus. You can go to the InsideTheRink.com website and sign up at InsideTheRink.com/ESPN. I have ESPN Plus. I love all the out-of-market hockey games. You get college sports and much, much more. So sign up for ESPN Plus at InsideTheRink.com/ESPN.
And we get right into some weekend review. March the 23rd versus the hated Montreal Canadiens. At home at TD Garden, the first time Montreal and only time Montreal comes into the Garden. A 4-2 win for Boston. Brad Marchand jumps Pitlick right after a late hit on Bergeron. Love to see that. Canadians get better as the game goes on, though. The rivalry kind of snuck back in a little bit, but the Bruins get the win because they're better. And it certainly wasn't their best effort.
No, it really wasn't their best effort. And the Marchand play against Pitlick really was the highlight of that game. There really wasn't a whole bunch of excitement other than some bubbling hate, maybe a little bit underneath the surface. But they don't play each other enough for it to really matter. And rivalries really aren't any good unless both teams are good. And it hasn't been that way in this rivalry for a long time. Montreal's been down for quite a few years and haven't really been particularly relevant in the division. So until that happens, the Bruins rivals are really more Tampa and Toronto right now, I would say.
I would say so too. And it's too bad that, I think the league needs to look at the schedule, especially if they want to pump the rivalries on rivalry night. You better have some rivalries to do that. And they don't right now because they just spread the schedule out too thin. And now with expansion maybe coming around the corner, could be even less. So that's not a good sign for the league. And I think Montreal and Boston, they should be playing 5 or 6 times a year. And Montreal should not be coming in March as the first game in Boston. It's just absurd. So I don't like that one bit. March 25th versus Tampa Bay, a 2-1 win. The playoff atmosphere. Tampa wanted this one, having lost their last 3. They come out hard, wanting to prove their toughness and bully the Bruins a bit. Lauko and Colton, Maroon and Hathaway both fight off the puck drop. Bruins get a bunch of power plays in the first 10 minutes and cash in only once on a good bounce for Bergeron's 27th of the year. But most of the power plays were complete trash, and Tampa scores shorthanded, an absolute rocket from Hedman that ramped up McAvoy's stick. It's tied 1-1 after 1. Tight physical game in the second, but the Bees get one late. Matt Grzelcyk gets a puck to the net, and it was Garnett Hathaway who bangs it home from the top of the crease for the game winner. The Bees locked it down in the third, were first on pucks, winning puck battles, good puck management, really finished the game well. Just the type of third you'd like to see in the playoffs when you're trying to close out a team with a lead.
Yeah, it was a real good win against a Tampa Bay team that was hungry for a win, wanted to prove something to the Bruins, tried to come into Boston and really bully them right off the opening face-off, really tried to take it to the Bruins and up their physicality, and the Bruins withstood that test and played a real good game overall. Like you said, they really locked it down in the third with excellent puck management. Good goaltending, winning puck battles and puck races. And really, Tampa really didn't have much at all as far as chances went in the third period. So the Bruins kind of closed this one out in a way that you would like to see come playoff time.
And it was the next game, the next day, second of a back-to-back at Carolina, which you really thought would be a scheduled loss, especially with no Bergeron, no Marchand, no Lindholm, no Hall, no Foligno, no Forbort. So that's 6 players that will be in the playoff lineup, not in, but still a great first 2 periods on the road by the Bees. Pasta gets his 50th and 51st goals. Lauko gets one. It's 3-run Bruins at the end of 2, and you think, wow, this is quite a good effort from a team that's shorthanded. Lauko gets hurt. His right leg folds sort of awkwardly underneath him, but somehow has an upper body injury.
Yeah,
Did not return.
maybe he wrenched his back or something the way he
Maybe.
folded there or something like
Yeah.
that. It didn't look good at all. It looked like it could have been some kind of a PCL or some kind of a like a lower leg injury with the way that his skate kind of bent and his leg kind of bent underneath him there. So Bruins, catch a break there because Lauko's been really good for them since he stepped in and really playing his role well.
He has, and beginning of the third was pretty awful period by the Bruins. The Hurricanes get 2 goals in around 3 minutes early on. Montgomery calls a timeout, which is a good one, and the Bruins get their game back. Even third and overtime, both teams with great chances. Swayman was excellent when called on late. In the shootout, it was all Boston. Coyle scores in round 1. DeBrusk wins it in round 2. Good resilience from the Bruins after they cough up the lead against the Carolina team that's battling for the Metro Division title. The Bruins tie the franchise record for wins in a season with 57.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, a pretty impressive win considering all of the circumstances. Like they started off well, and you're like, okay, they're going to ride this. They're going to keep the momentum. Everything's going their way, and then Carolina with a big push in the third. The Bruins are kind of caught flat-footed. They started awfully in the third period, which it's hard to explain after how well they played in the first two. But Montgomery calls that timeout and kind of gets them back on the rails. And then it was a pretty even game after that, even though the Bruins were down all those players, and they somehow find a way to win it in the shootout. So, pretty good resiliency from the guys that were there. Swayman was really good when he was called upon late and in the shootout. So a really nice road win in what should have been a scheduled loss on the second night of a back-to-back with travel also. So a really good win against a really good team that was the Bruins also, their first win in Carolina since like the 2019 playoffs, I believe.
Eastern Conference Finals, yeah.
Yeah. So getting a little bit of a monkey off their back there as well, which was nice because I have a feeling that Carolina might be a team they see a little bit here in the future.
Well, of course, last year they lost all 4 at Carolina in the playoffs. There was the bubble in there, and so there wasn't a lot of opportunity to play in Carolina, but it had been 4 years since they had won there, so that was good for them. And I sense that even though they were sitting people, that they really wanted to prove that they could beat Carolina on the road, because that could be a potential playoff opponent later on. And it really looked like they were up for it just because they had guys out, kind of rallied around each other, showed a lot of grit and a lot of energy trying to win a game that really they don't need to win. But I think in that case they wanted to. But lo and behold, 2 days later, they had shot their load because on March the 28th against Nashville at home, this was just a total dud from the get-go. The crowd was half asleep.
Yeah.
It seemed like a preseason game. Like it was
really
just
did.
an awful feeling to this game.
Yeah.
A total dud, no engagement at all whatsoever. Just kind of going through the motions, 40 minutes of nothing. Power play was bad. Again, the Predators get a good bounce and Glass scores. Then on the empty netter, it was Jeremy Lauzon who scored from like 190 feet.
Yeah.
Pasta scored his 52nd with about less than a second to go to spoil the shutout. The positives were that they escaped with no injuries. And Allmark was still very good in this one, but certainly a forgettable game and one that you won't even remember because it was just so uneventful.
Yeah, this game certainly won't make any DVDs or anything like that.
No, it won't be on the Stanley Cup.
Not even a season in review. They'll just skip right over this one. Just a pretty forgettable game all around. Other than Pasta getting his 52nd, not much good in this one.
No, not at all. And this is one of those games you kind of felt was going to happen eventually, I think. And even Marchand has talked about the schedule being the toughest schedule he's ever faced. He's already talked about how he hasn't felt 100% when he thought he would, or felt as good as he thought he would after the double hip surgery. There's certainly concerns about him and his play a little bit, but I think the schedule is really weary, and we'll talk a little bit about the guys who sit and don't sit, but it really is coming to a point now where they really have to sit some guys, I think, because I think that game really showed you that they've kind of checked out a little bit. It's really hard to get up for these games. And I think it's time now to really sit a bunch of the core guys because this is an older team. that this playoffs is going to be a grind. Everybody's going to be up for them. So I think this is a time where you need to sit people these last 8 games or so.
Yeah, back-to-backs every weekend to close out the season is
it's a bad
absolutely terrible. Like that's awful scheduling by the league.
It is.
With travel too. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. They play a light schedule early in the season and then they just destroy them in the second half of the season with these back-to-backs to close out the season. It's just it doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't think all the teams are facing it. I mean, certainly other teams have back-to-backs, but not every single weekend with travel. It doesn't feel like. So Bruins catch kind of a short end of the stick there, but they certainly do need to start resting guys because, they need them to be fresh when the playoffs start.
Yeah, I think I just don't want us to go back to this when it all is said and done and they don't win the Stanley Cup and say that the schedule was a factor. Because
you can't use it as an excuse. You got to play what's in front of you,
right? But it could kind of be. Because if they play all this hockey, and of course they can manage it themselves because they have such a lead, so they need to be smarter about this so that it's not an excuse when it comes down to it, because they have the luxury, even with the poor scheduling, to set guys. So go ahead and do it.
I mean, you can't afford to have like 6 guys sit out because you can't bring that many guys up from Providence with your salary cap things and that nature. But you can certainly dole out the ice time differently.
Sure.
Like, if AJ Greer's playing 7 minutes a night, that could certainly be Patrice Bergeron or Brad Marchand playing 7 minutes a night.
Yeah,
and you give AJ Greer 20 minutes a night.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter. Win or lose the rest of the games. It doesn't matter. If you go out and play the right way during your particular shifts and you happen to lose, so be it. But, you really have to start gearing up now for the playoffs. That's the most important thing. The regular season records and the President's Trophy, you're going to get those anyways. You need one more win, I think, to get the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
Your regular season record, I think you need one more win for that to beat the Bruins record, most wins of all time. So, like, those things will happen. There's 8 games left. You're not going to lose all 8. But, let's be smart about it and start gearing things up for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that now there's a time in this last, because, the playoffs begin in August, April 17th. So you're talking like 3 weeks from now, 3 weeks from Monday. So it's really time right now to start setting some guys. And you show that you can win at Carolina with 6 guys out.
Yeah.
Like you can still win games and be competitive because you're very deep. So I think it's time to do that. All right, time now for 7 Chirps, and it's sponsored by Lops Brewing. Lops is a brewing and tasting room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers. It's open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order. Go to lopsbrewing.com. Follow them at Lops Brewing for new beers and events on social media. And chirp number 1, Mike Milbury was recently on WEI, talked about the goalie platoon that he had with Andy Moog and Reggie Lemelin back in 88-90. Could the Bruins platoon the goaltenders in the playoffs?
I think that's a possibility. I mean, it's not something you really see very often anymore, just because there's so many variables that go with that. Like, what if you're platooning a guy, the guy has a shutout in game 1, you're going to take him out and go to the other guy in game 2. Then, there's the whole thing of, if the guy wins game 1, the next guy loses game 2, and then the guy wins game 3, are you going to go back to the guy that lost game 2 for game 4? If the other guy's won 2 and that guy's lost 1, right? I mean, there's things like that make it kind of not something you see every day. But the Bruins have done it all year long, and both goalies are having success. I think the Stanley Cup playoffs is an absolute grind, especially mentally for goaltenders. So I think to give a guy a game and then give him a break mentally, I think would maybe do wonders for them. And it's what they've done kind of all year long. So I could see them possibly doing it. Would I do it? I don't think so. I think I would go with a guy and be like, this is our guy and we're going to ride him. And then, if you get into trouble, then you go to the other guy. But overall, I think I would stick with the one goaltender and ride Allmark or whoever you deem to be the guy that is the game one starter.
Right. And I think Allmark has something to prove because last year he wasn't very good, and then they went to Swayman at the end of that series. So I think Allmark will be ready to go. I think, Monty's already said that Allmark would start game one and be the goaltender to go. So I think he's got the net until there's any type of crack, or if they're up, say 3-0 in a series, they may put Swayman in there. It's a good luxury to have. But it just leaves it up for questioning. If you, like you said, Allmark wins game one, you go to Swayman in game two, he loses. Now you go to Allmark in game three, he wins. Now go back to Swayman. Just leaves it up for debate, leaves it up for questioning. I don't think the coach would put himself in that position. And Allmark's been the Vezina guy, so I don't know how you could not play him, every game until he falters in some way. All right, number two now. Harvey McCarthy asked on Twitter, what is your Bruins all-time bust team? So 2 defense, 3 forwards, and a goaltender.
Okay, I actually I did this earlier today, and I actually had quite a bit of fun doing it and looking up some of these guys. So do you want to do each one of us do our position and give our guy, and then we'll move on to the next position?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
My whole team. All right. So we'll start with center. So I have Zach Hamill, who was selected 8th overall in 2007.
Okay.
In 20 NHL games, no goals, 4 assists, 4 points. And the Bruins, with the very next pick, could have had Logan Couture, who went 9th overall. Logan had 321 goals, 373 assists, 694 points so far in 919 games, and they were both centers. So the Bruins maybe missed on that one. So that's my center boss.
Yeah, that's poor. That's not very good. Logan Couture would have looked very nice in a Boston uniform.
Certainly would have,
no question. And center for me, Joe Colborne actually had a. I don't want to say good.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
Not a good career at all.
Okay, Calgary. He was with the Calgary Flames and so forth, but he was the 16th overall pick in 2008 in the 2008 NHL draft by the Boston Bruins, and he was picked before many other good players, and he was sort of a bust, I would say. He played 61 games with the Providence Bruins, never actually played with the Boston Bruins. So that's a poor draft pick at 16th overall.
How about back-to-back years going center, and just strike out?
Oh, I'm in a big way.
Big way.
Like as bad as you can be.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go defense now here.
Okay.
And this one might be a little controversial to some because he's kind of beloved around here a little bit. But I'm going Gord Kluzak, who was the first overall selection in 1982. He played 299 games, but had 25 goals, 98 assists, 123 points. So that doesn't sound like a bust, but he only played 299 games because he had knee problems that shortened his career. He had a knee injury going into that draft. So the knee problems were there before he was picked. So that was a red flag, I would say. And then with the Bruins could have had Scott Stevens at number 5. He was a pretty good defenseman.
That's pretty good.
1,635 games, 196 goals, 712 assists, 908 points. And he was a Conn Smythe winner and a Hall of Famer. Or they could have had Phil Housley at 6, who played 1,495 games, 338 goals, 894 assists, 1,232 points, and also a Hall of Famer. So they passed up 2 Hall of Fame defensemen at 5 and 6 and selected Gord Kluzak first overall.
Yeah, and it's too bad. I mean, I think Gord was a pretty good player. Just his injuries were bad, and Scott Stevens is just an all timer. That was a poor selection. No offense to Gord, of course, the smart guy and Harvard.
Yeah, of course. He's a great guy,
I think he headed up Mass Lottery, didn't he, or something?
It's nothing personal against Gord. By all accounts, he's a fantastic guy, and he had a pretty good career for the Bruins. He just didn't have careers like those 2 guys had.
No,
the Bruins could have selected And they would have ended up with a Hall of Fame defenseman rather than a guy who only was able to play 299 games.
Sure, but I'll tell you who didn't play 299 games for the Boston Bruins. That was Lars Johnson.
Who was that? I don't know.
He was the seventh overall pick. The
Seventh overall?
overall pick by the Boston Bruins in 2000.
Oh my God!
And he was picked 6 picks before Ron Hainsey, who played over 1,000 games in the NHL, and also Brooks Orpik, who played down the street at Chestnut Hill.
Yeah,
but they decided not to pick him. They picked Lars Johnson instead, and I'm not sure Lars. In fact, he did not. He played 8 NHL games total for the Philadelphia Flyers, not even for the Boston Bruins, and played most of his career in Sweden. Just wasn't very good at all. 6'1", 207, and he was the 7th overall pick. And the Bruins passed up on Hainsey and Orpik, who each played over 1,000 games.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. The next D, I'm going Matt Lashoff. He was picked 22nd overall in 2005.
Yeah.
Matthew had one goal, 15 assists, 16 points. 74 games. Yeah. They could have had Matt Niskanen, who went 28th. Mark-Edward Vlasic went 35th. And this is a little bit more of a reach because, everybody passed on him. But Chris Letang was picked 62nd in that draft. So all 3 of those guys were defensemen who were better than Matt Lashoff was.
Yeah.
So, missed out there a little bit. So Matt Lashoff, my other defenseman bust.
Yeah, that was a poor pick. Matt Lashoff right before Peter Kalus and Mikko Lehtinen and Jonathan Siglet. The good old John, and Wasey Rabbit was in that draft. Not strong at all.
I think I would have rather drafted Eddie Rabbit.
Yeah, right. He has a couple big hits.
Love a rainy night.
Yeah, you love a rainy night.
You do.
All right, so pick my defenseman, left shot defenseman back in 1996, Jonathan Aiken. Played 3 games for the Boston Bruins, 3, and he was the 8th overall pick in the 1996 NHL draft, and he was not very good. Dinas Zubris, Marty Riesener, Derek Morris was picked. 5 picks after him by Calgary. Just not. Danielle Briere was in that first round. Just not very, very good. And Jonathan Aiken played 135 games for Providence and then 3 for the Bruins and ended up playing 41 for the Blackhawks in 2003 somehow. But that was about it for Jonathan. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Not strong.
No,
not strong at all. So we'll go with wings now. And it can't be a bust, an all bust team without somebody from 2015. You just can't do it.
Yeah,
so we got to go Zachary Senyshyn, 15th overall in 2015. He had 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points in 16 NHL games. That is not good. They could have had Matt Barzal, a pick later at 16, Kyle Connor, a pick after Barzal at 17. Joel Eriksson-Ek went 20th. There was a ton of guys in this draft. This draft was stacked. All those guys picked right around the same area as Senyshyn are still playing now and have had really, really good NHL careers. And I'm also pretty sure that all 3 of those guys have had 1, 2, 3 totals in a single game.
Yes.
In one single game, never mind 16. So Barzal, Connor, and Eriksson-Ek have all had a goal and 2 assists in a single game. It took Zach Senyshyn 16 games to get that total, and then he was done. So that is poor.
That's not strong. All right, my center back from 1989, Shane Stevenson. Shane played 19 games for the Boston Bruins in his entire career, had 0 goals, 1 assist in 19 games, ended up playing 8 for the Lightning. In 92-93, had 0 goals and 1 assist. He did not score a goal in NHL in his career. And Shane was picked with the 17th overall pick in 1989, 2 picks before Olaf Kolzig. He was picked 5 picks before Adam Foote, who had an excellent career as a defenseman for Quebec and Colorado. Patrice Brisebois was in there. Byron Defoe was later. I mean, just about everybody was later, and that was not even Louis DeBrusque was later than him.
Okay.
And that was a bad pick back in a bust for sure. Shane Stevenson, 17th overall in '89, not strong.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go with my other winger, and Patrice Bergeron's good buddy from Quebec. Jordan Caron was picked 25th overall in 2009. 12 goals, 16 assists, 28 points, and 157 NHL games. They could have had Kyle Palmieri at 26th overall, or Ryan O'Reilly was 33rd overall. Both of those guys still playing and having wonderful NHL careers. Ryan O'Reilly, obviously a Conn Smythe winner with St. Louis. So, Jordan Caron not exactly tearing it up with 28 points on 157 NHL games.
No, not no, not at all. Not at all. Okay, my right winger, Jordan Caron, was a bust.
That's what I just said. Yeah,
bust. You did?
Yeah.
You
I
said
just
Caron? Oh, did you say Caron? My bad.
That was just him just now.
Oh, you just say Caron.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should pay attention to the program. Yeah, Jordan Caron is a double asshole.
It was pretty bad.
Double asshole. Yeah. Not a great pick at all. Who was a bust for the Bruins? I thought was Wes Walz.
Yeah,
Wes Walz was picked in the first round by the Boston Bruins. Actually had a decent career, like 10 years later.
Yeah, once he left Boston. Yeah,
but never did anything
no
for Boston at all. And that was a really bad pick at the time, because at the time they picked him and he immediately became a bust for Boston. So Wes Walz was not a good pick at all.
No, and so I'll go now to my last one, the goalie. I have Malcolm Subban, who was 24th overall in 2012, 36 wins, 33 losses, 9 ties in 86 career games, a 310 goals against, which in this day and age is dreadful. And he had an 898 save percentage in his career, below 900 in his career. Could have had Brady Shea at 28 or Tanner Pearson at 30, who were picked right in that general area. So a couple of guys who, I think I'm pretty sure Shea is still playing, and Pearson is obviously still playing. So, just not a good pick. And they had some goaltending depth at the time. So it was kind of a head scratcher at the time when they took him. So that's kind of a bust pick there. And that is my all bust team: Subban, Jordan Caron, Zach Senyshyn, Matt Lashoff, Gord Kluzak, and Zach Hamill.
Wow, that's a who's who of busts. My goaltender, Hannu Toivonen, 2002 29th overall pick. Actually had a decent, okay year, 20 games. He was 9-5-4, 914 save percentage. The next year, he was 3-9-1 with an 875, and then immediately played like 23 more games for St. Louis, and then he was out of the league. Toivonen was the 29th overall pick. He just edged out Blaine Locker, and the only reason why I didn't keep Locker, because Locker had that one good year, but he was undrafted. He won a national championship with Lake Superior State.
Yes.
And then they signed him because John Casey got hurt. They had some real goalie troubles. He really burst onto the scene and surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then immediately flatlined. Brian Sutter, I actually read about Blaine Locker today. Brian Sutter was fired. He was the biggest proponent of Locker. And as soon as he was fired, Locker didn't have much support. And then was almost immediately out of the league after that. And that Lake Superior State team had 4 future Boston Bruins: Sandy Moger, Clayton Beddoes, Blaine Locker, and somebody else was on there. 4 future Bruins on the national championship team that year in '92.
Wow.
But I picked Toivonen because he's a first round pick.
Yeah.
That just didn't get it done. And he's only 38 years old now, and that's insane.
It is.
And I think he's still playing. In fact, I want to say, was it the Maine Mariners that had him join the team like on loan for like a game or two recently, within the last couple of years, maybe? because I heard his name pop up again, but that was not a very good pick.
No, certainly wasn't.
Not at
Certainly
all.
wasn't.
So there's your busts. There's plenty of busts in the history of the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
And those are some of the real all timers. I'm telling you, pretty bad, pretty bad. All right, so chirp number 3, game 1 of the postseason, potentially on Marathon Monday. Boy, that would be electric.
It would be. Everybody be lubed. Everybody be lubed up for that one. Tell you.
Jesus, get the Sox at 11.
Yeah, get everybody out there. The Sox game going on.
Yeah.
People are lubed up there. You got the marathon. You get lubed up there. Then you come over to the Garden and hang around for a few hours. You get lubed up around Causeway Street. Head over to Sullivan's Tap. Have a few. You know, hit the local establishments, watering holes there while you got a little time before the Bruins game, and then get after it on the Marathon Monday there. That would be an electric crowd, I think.
It would be
out of the playoffs.
That would be a great kickoff to the playoffs. As Marathon Monday against, hopefully it's against Sid Crosby and the fucking Penguins, and let's get after it. I like that a lot.
It'd be fun.
Chirp 4, Dmitry Orlov, Charlie McAvoy, and Hampus Lindholm aren't a part of the rest rotation for the defense. Shouldn't they be?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. I think
especially McAvoy.
Yeah, I think McAvoy right now, his play slipped a little bit. He's turning the puck over kind of uncharacteristically. He looks a little tired, more mentally, I think. Although he did get cross-checked in the mouth, so that certainly didn't help.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just probably got some bumps and bruises that it would help him to give him a day, give him a game, let him watch. So I think those guys should be part of that rest rotation. Those guys are going to be the guys that are playing heavy minutes come the playoffs. So those are really the guys that should be resting now. It shouldn't be, the guys who are going to play 12 minutes a night. It should be the guys who are going to be playing 25, 28 minutes a night. So those are the guys that need to rest, in my opinion. So those guys should certainly be a part of any kind of rest rotation thing they have going on here down the stretch.
I think one thing we've underestimated is the fact that McAvoy and Marchand especially, major surgery, coming back early, and now missing all that training. You know what I'm saying? And now hitting a little bit of a wall that you don't really realize is going to happen when you don't get, you come in late and you immediately play NHL hockey.
Right.
And then now you're kind of running out of gas. And I think that's an issue. And I think we're seeing it with Marchand. I think we're seeing it with McAvoy. Like, yeah, it was great that they were able to come back quickly, but did they come back too soon? So that now they're kind of running out of gas, not having all the training and the conditioning and just being thrown back into the mix. And now it's sort of catching up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be a point. I think that might be true,
Yeah. So is that something that you think they need to work through and stay in the lineup so they can fight through that? Or do you think they could use the rest to kind of rejuvenate themselves a little bit?
It really concerns me about Marchand because he's talked recently with the schedule and with the fact that he's not 100% or doesn't feel the way he thought he would. It's kind of a couple of negative comments that lead me to believe that this is why his play is the way it is right now. Like I feel like he's in a little bit of a mental funk, not only physically, but mentally, because that's in his head. Like, I don't feel as good as I thought. The schedule sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I think that leads me to be a little bit concerned about him as we go forward here. Now, start the playoffs and maybe the playoffs just gives him the adrenaline and that's it. But I think it's a little concerning that he has openly come out and said those types of things, because I don't think it's characteristic of him to say that.
It isn't, and I to me it sounds like he needs a mental break, and I think McAvoy needs a mental break. So to me, I would sit some of those guys, not every other game or anything like that, but maybe a couple times here, in the final 8. Like, some of those guys, I feel like need to sit. You don't have to sit them all in the same night or anything, but probably 1 or 2 games out of the last 8 here, give those guys a little bit of a mental break and try to get them geared up, for what hopefully is a very long playoff run.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. Chirp number 5, Bruins signed Trevor Kuntar to an entry-level 2-year deal. Starts with the 23-24 season. He could go to Providence on an amateur tryout. He's a good bottom six candidate for next season. And this actually, because of next year, is not one of the contracts. So I think the Bruins still have one more to get to 50.
They do, I think, have one more contract to get to
Right.
50, and
So
hopefully
if Lohrei
this,
would want to
yeah,
go, then
probably
right.
saving it for Lohrei. But yeah, I mean, I think he could be a candidate for bottom six next year. I mean, maybe they'll try to do the Merkulov Lysell type of thing where they keep him in Providence for a full year to get him acclimated to the professional game a little bit. But if he comes in and on an amateur tryout now and kind of lights it up here with Providence and has a good playoff for them, there's certainly a chance that he could start next season with Boston as a bottom six guy, because he's kind of a in the mold of like a Brendan Gallagher type, where he gets to the front of the net. He's kind of a pain in the ass. He has a low center of gravity, has a really good shot. He gets to the dirty areas. He's kind of a fire hydrant, spark pluggy type of guy. So that could certainly fit in well with the Bruins on the bottom six.
And I think Kuntar has come on offensively, because there were some questions about his offensive production. And this past year, he had a very good year. I mean, he had 13 goals and 16 assists in 34 games. I mean, and he was playing with Andre Gassot, and he had Cutter Gauthier's on the team. He has some talent there. Oscar Jelvik.
Yeah.
They had some young talent there, and they came along as the year went on. And I think Kuntar did too offensively. So I think he's still a bottom six kind of guy. It'll just remain to be seen if he's going to be able to make that jump. But I think what you said is correct. Like his stature, his fire hydrant, he's strong. He's 200 pounds. I think he can handle the physicality of the league. It's just a matter of the production. Can he do that? The Bruins could certainly use that. Could use a Kuntar and a Beecher and a McLaughlin to take up those spots, particularly on the fourth line. But it'll remain to be seen if he can do that. I think you'll see him play pretty much a full year, maybe a call up here or there if they're desperate. But I think you see him play a full year in Providence, I would say. All right, chirp number 6. Mason Lohrei has finished his collegiate season. What do you think he does? Could he get into an NHL game at the end of the year?
I think he comes out. I think he comes out and signs his entry level deal with the Bruins. I don't think he really has anything more to prove at the collegiate level. I think he was one of for the Final Four bracket he was in. I think he was whatever all tournament team or whatever for whatever region he was in. He had a really good Frozen Four tournament. And, had a really good year at Ohio State. They said he's really focused on his defense and was much better defensively this year than he was last year. He still has a ways to go, but he's big. He can skate. He has great offensive instincts. So all those things bode well for him going forward. So I could see him signing and playing with Providence in the playoffs, and maybe a McAvoy type situation where he's down there and he plays a few games and things go well, and they bring him up if they have an injury or two or something along those lines where they need a guy.
Yeah, he's 22. Like, he's getting older. Like he's not 20, not 19. Like I think he's, the Bruins are probably really pressing him to come out, I would assume. Like, I think that they're, like you said, saving that contract. I think they want him to come out and sign his entry level deal and get to Providence and get it going. Like, I think they want him to do that. Something tells me he might stay another year. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not 100% decided right now. And now that he's tasted the Frozen Four, he may do that. But then you're getting into like 23 and like toward the end of next season, like the next season, like 24 as a pro. Like, it's getting to be a little later. You know what I mean? So hockey players, I don't know. I kind of want him to come out now. but I don't know if it's etched in stone whether he'll come back. I think the Bruins are going to really press him to do so because I think he needs to get to the pro game and start doing that thing. And I think it would behoove them because then they could move a car like they could help their salary cap situation. They could move a Carlo or a Grizzly and they could slide him in there at a low level contract.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays a year in Providence, and then some of those guys are up, after next year, your Forborts or your Grizzlies 1 year, away from his contract being up, maybe you trade a Grizzly or Forbort's done and he slides into that spot on the third pair and kind of grows into something else, something a little bit better, hopefully.
Right.
So they certainly have some options there. So I think, the Bruins, like you said, are definitely going to press him to come out and sign that deal, I think.
I wonder here's something I wonder if he stays at OSU, if that affects the Dmitry Orlov conversation. I wonder if he decides not to come out and waits another year. I wonder if they try to sign Orlov for like a 4-year deal.
I think they should do it anyway, personally.
I do too. I really do. I think if all the guys, I think they should keep Orlov because then, like we talked about, your top 4 is set for like 4 years.
Yeah,
like you're good right there. Like you're good.
Yeah. I feel like they should, and then if you can, that's where you plug, a guy like Lohrei in at the third pair, like Forbort goes, because you're not going to pay a third pair guy much money when you're giving Orlov, whatever he's going to command. So you save money on that last pair. You have Lohrei and whoever you're gonna have to replace Clifton too, because he's gonna walk with the amount of money that he's gonna command too. So whether it's Lohrei and Zaboral or Zaboral and someone else until Lohrei's ready. But yeah, I think that's where maybe the Bruins could save a little money on that last pair, and you try to get Orlov signed to, like you said, like a 4 or 5 year deal in there where you really have your top 4D locked in for some years to come.
Right. All right. Chart number 7. How do you fix the Bruins power play? Michael Felger on 98.5 The Sports Hub advocated for Thomas Nosek replacing David Pastrnak on the Bruins power play unit on Wednesday afternoon radio. Sit him down, he says. Sit him down. It blows me away. Do you watch the game? Shouldn't the turnover leader take a seat?
My answer to that would be no.
When they do score, he scores.
How about this? He may lead the team in turnovers, but you know what else he leads the team in? Goals. You know what else? Power play goals. So my opinion would be to keep that guy on the fucking power play. That would be my opinion, is to keep the leading goal scorer in the team on the goddamn power play.
Yes.
And, if you want to put Nosek out there on a power play unit, fantastic. He can go on the second unit and replace somebody at net front. Fine. Right. You want to do that? Go ahead. Right. As to how to fix the power play, they need to simplify. Their zone entries are bad. They make poor decisions at the blue line, and they make poor decisions once they get the puck in. It seems like it's a blind pass or it's a drop pass, or they pull up just inside the blue line. All things that just, the other team is scouted. They know you're going to do that. They close on you quickly. They take away space and time, and then they're clearing the puck on you. So the entries have to improve. They have to make better decisions on the entries. And then once they get set up, they can't force the puck through people. The down low plays seem to be open, and they're just not going to it enough. They're trying to force the puck through to Pastrnak, or they're trying to force it to Bergeron in the bumper. Those type of plays don't appear to be there right now, and you can't force plays when you have an extra guy. Pass the puck to the open man. If they go down low to DeBrusk at the net front, he can go cross crease to Pastrnak, or he can do that little play that like the Rangers run and Minnesota runs, where it's a quick pass down low and then a pass back to the bumper for a one-timer. Right. So quick little triangle passing plays that are open rather than forcing the puck through things. It's the decision-making and the entries are what the problem is. And until they decide, until they're not stubborn with those type of plays, it's not going to get any better. It's not
Right.
going to get any better.
I'll tell you right now, and I've told you before, the guy I would put down there for the little dump down to the bumper is Bertuzzi. I put Bertuzzi behind the net or to the side of the net. I dump it down to him and I let him pass it out to whoever the fuck is open.
Mhm.
And I would use his passing ability, which is excellent.
Mhm.
And I would put him on that power play unit with them, and I put him down the bumper, down in the below the red line, and I'd have him make decisions and make passes to Bergeron or Pastrnak or whoever, and try to do that thing. But it's too telegraphed. Like everybody in the league knows what they're trying to do. It's Pastrnak on the one timer, or it's bumper to Bergeron. I mean, that's what they try to do all the time. So I think that's and let's face it, the defensemen, are pretty good. Are pretty good, but they haven't, like, McAvoy hasn't helped himself on the power play. Like he just hasn't been super great there. And I don't know, it's because he wasn't a major power play guy, the last couple of years or whatever, still learning how to do it or what to do.
I think
But
he defers.
He defers way too much. Like he just and Marchand defers all the time, not only power play but 5-on-5 play. He's constantly looking to pass to guys and make these passes through people and stuff to try to feed his buddies. Like, just be more aggressive. Just be more aggressive. Get the puck to the net. Go to the DeBruska's excellent at getting rebounds and scoring around the net.
Mhm.
Get him down there too. Like, it's too one dimensional. It's too telegraphed in my opinion. So and look at in 2011, their power play was horrific. It's just as bad as this is, if not worse.
It was worse.
If not worse.
It was worse.
Like, they had no options then.
No.
And they still won the thing. So, how big of a deal it is? It's a big deal, but it's not going to make or break them. But they have to get the thing right. All right, DraftKings Sportsbook, Boston's hometown sportsbook, is live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $200 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money line spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with the code ITR to get up to $200 in bonus bets to use now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts. That's code ITR only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist, free and confidentially, 24/7, 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
All right, Beauties and Benders, the three beauties for this week. Beauty number 3, Garnet Hathaway.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
He fights Pat the Fat Goon Maroon early on in the contest, and then gets the game winner against Tampa Bay late in the second. And as I think was it Jim Montgomery or someone said recently, Garnet Hathaway is a typical example of the big bad Bruins.
He is. I think he fits perfectly. I think he's built for the playoffs. I think he's a tremendous guy to have on your team in the playoffs, because, as Dmitry Orlov said, describing him, when the defensemen go back to pick a puck and he's on the ice, you're going to get smashed. Mm-hmm. And he said, and after a while, those defensemen don't want to get smashed anymore. And they're going to get rid of it quicker than they should. And maybe that's a turnover that leads to a goal that wins you a game. So I think he's a really good guy for that fourth line. He kind of creates an identity. Those other two guys that have been playing with him now, Nosek especially, has been more physical, I think, since Hathaway's joined the team. I think they get pucks down deep, they pound guys, they turn pucks over, and they've had pretty good success with Greer and especially with Loco on the wing there. Playing really well as a threesome.
I really hope that they try to get Hathaway. I don't know what's going to cost, and I don't know what the market will be for him, but I really hope they try to at least get another year out of Hathaway, or trying to get some sort of deal together, because I think he does fit the role really well, and he's a guy we hated for so long.
Oh, absolutely.
But we love him now that he's with the Bruins.
Sure.
All right, beauty number 2, Yalko Blauko.
Gonna love you, eh? They're going to be loving you from dawn until dusk.
He fights Ross Colton. He scores a goal, playing his role perfectly. He's forechecking, agitating, hitting, doing all the little things well down the stretch. He did get a little bit of a ding with the upper body, but we think he'll be okay. But a guy who next year now is in the mix to take a spot in the bottom six. And I'll tell you, he surprised me because I thought he was going the way of Oscar Steen and Studnicka and some of these other guys who weren't going to live to their potential. But I think Lauko is finally finding out how to make his money in the NHL.
Yeah, I think he's kind of developed some confidence from playing with those guys and playing well. Jim Montgomery said either yesterday or today that he really has a different confidence, a different kind of air about him when he's around the team, when he's around the coaches, just a different feel to his presence with the team. I think he feels like he belongs now, and that's showing on the ice. And I'll tell you what, if you had to ask me right now who I would rather have on the fourth line, Greer or Lauko, I'm picking Lauko.
Sure.
I'm picking Lauko. He just has been much more visible lately. I mean, Greer's had his moments. Don't get me wrong. He's made some good plays. He's fought. He's done all the right things. But Lauko has a speed advantage, and I think he's really good on the forecheck. He's making the right plays as far as puck management goes, and I think he really fits well with Hathaway and Nosek there. So if you had to ask me now, he's in the lineup for me.
Me too. And I've turned the corner on him because I thought he was just another guy who wasn't really going to get there, and they probably have to move on from him. But he's shown me something this year, and it's good because they're going to need him to take a spot next year, I think, for sure. And I'm with you. If it comes down to it, I think AJ Greer is the guy who's out. Like I just think that Hathaway does what he does with more experience and more. Maybe a little more offensive punch when you need it. Mm-hmm. And then, and Lauko, does what he does as well. I just don't think you need a guy like Greer, especially when it comes playoff time. So I think Lauko is really finding his way there. So that's good. And then beauty number one, David Pastrnak.
They're going to love you, eh? They're going to be loving you from dawn until dusk.
So he scores 3 goals this week. He has 52 on the season, over 600 career points, and set a career high with 98 points now on the season for Pastrnak. And he is now 3 goals away from Cam Neely, who had 55 in the early 90s. Phil Esposito had 61, I think, in 74, I think it was. So he's if he can get 4 more goals this season, he would have the most goals since Espo in the early mid-70s.
Yeah, I mean, pretty impressive. I mean, It really is, and hopefully, this is the first of many 50-goal seasons to come with him signing that new 8-year contract extension. So, hopefully, like I said, this is the first of many 50-goal seasons. But pretty impressive. 52-goal season right now with a couple of his line mates. Marchand was out for a period of time and stuff, so he wasn't always playing with a full variety of the guys at his disposal there, passing him the puck and so forth. So really good year for Pasta, and a guy they're going to build around for years to come.
No question. Yeah, it's been a great year for him.
All right, so we're going to do the benders now, and bender number 3 is our good friend, Fat Pat Maroon the Goon. So he fights Hathaway right at the very beginning of the game. He kind of gave it to Hathaway for most of that fight. He's a big dude.
Oh, he is.
He's a big dude, and Hathaway, got some shots in at the end, but then he takes an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, chirping a little bit too much from the bench later in the first there, and the Bruins score the Bergeron goal, and he has to take the skate of shame across the ice, and fuck that guy. I've never been a fan of his. I hated him when he was on the Blues. I don't think he's particularly talented. I think he takes up space. I think he's a dickhead. But he's been on winning teams, and he whatever role he has, he fulfills it well, because I don't like him. So he's obviously doing something right, because he's getting under the skin of opposing players and fans and so forth. So Fat Pat Maroon, the goon.
Was it back with the Oilers where he had this tremendous year when he's playing with like super talent? And he had this great year, and then he goes, and now he's cup grabbing.
Yeah,
like he's just hanging on and winning cups, and doing his thing in the fourth line and doing really nothing because he kind of stinks. And then Jack Edwards pulled no punches. Like he had that whole scenario where he had to apologize because everybody got on him about fat shaming Pat Maroon.
Yeah.
So now he's still barking about him on the broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
Maroon.
I don't think Maroon really accepted his apology.
He just didn't look at him.
Yeah. No. So Jack, doubled down. He's like, screw that guy. He's like, he's not going to accept my apology. I'm going to go after him again. Right. And God bless Jack for doing that. Jack's got his own issues and problems, but we love Jack. He's our guy. He's a massive homer. And hopefully, everything's all right with him physically and mentally and so forth. And he hangs it up after this year because I don't think I can take.
I think he will. I think he will.
All the mispronouncing.
I mean, I think they know. I think they must realize that. I think that's going to happen. I just think it is. I don't know who's going to take over that role. I mean, I'd be up for like a Mike Monaco or someone to take that role. But I don't think he can come back next year. I really don't.
No.
I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's all over social media. I mean, the Bruins know. The Bruins.
They have to know. They have to know. Bender number 2 is the day off after the baseball season opener.
Bender.
Oh my God. It's the worst fucking thing. You've been waiting months to play baseball, and then you play in 38-degree weather, and you muscle through a game, and you take the next day off. Like, why? What are we taking the next? It happens every year. You get yourself going.
It's a built-in rain. It's a built-in rain makeup date. But it's awful.
I got news for you. You're playing one game. It's not like, what do you need a built-in rain day for?
Because if you
it's gonna rain the next fucking day.
Right. If you just played and then played, the next day would be the game anyways.
It would be.
So
you're only making up one day, which is the day before. No, it's not like it's built in 3 months from now.
Just play the fucking game for crying out loud.
The game.
Everybody's all jazzed. Well, not this year. So, if you wanted to go to opening day, we could go tomorrow. We could get tickets right now.
No one
and sit in the grandstand and go. There's plenty of tickets still available for the Fenway home opener.
They're feeling it hitting them in the wallet right now.
Yeah, good. They deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve it.
For skimping on payroll and trading guys they shouldn't be trading, and that's another thing altogether. Right. But doesn't make any damn sense at all.
Oh man, it kills me every year. You get and what kills me too is that they'll lose the opener and you have to wait an extra day to try to win the first game of the year. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, come on, just play the damn games. Like baseball season starts, you're supposed to just play the games. There's no days off in baseball. You just play. You just play all the damn games.
What do you need a day off for?
Oh my God, the season just started. Give them a day off in the middle of fucking July after they played 25 in a row. You don't play one and then get a day off the next day. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Awful. But you know what might be dumber is April Fool's Day. What is that?
Oh, April Fool's Day is the worst fucking day in America.
I just don't understand. Awful. I mean, maybe it hits you harder because you're a teacher and the kids put all your chairs upside down and take all your chalk away and do all these mean things to you. But I just don't get it. It's somebody says something to you like mean or nasty, and then like April Fools, and you're like, no, fuck you.
No, I'm offended.
Fuck you right in the face. Fuck you.
I'm offended. Now I'm offended.
It's like, your mom died. April Fools. Like, come on.
Right. I feel like this is for people who don't take life seriously enough. And they feel like they got to be the cool kid and they got to get everybody to like them. So they're going to really latch on to April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Like, go fuck yourself, dude.
I feel like it's for people who don't have an actual sense of humor. It's like, well, this is what I can do. I can tell jokes on April Fool's Day that aren't funny because it's April Fool's. Like, April Fool's. Yeah. Yes. How about being funny the rest of the year? How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about not being an asshole? Like, it's just asshole.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I hate it. I really do. I hate it. I hate it. I just do. All right. Bruins Benders power rankings. Number 7, Minnesota Wild, 7-1-2 in their last 10. Matty Boldy up to 28 goals, almost to 40, which is my Boldy prediction.
It was your Boldy prediction. He has 9 goals in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
2 hat tricks in that span. I believe the first Wild player to get 2 hat tricks in that short of a span in their history.
In their history.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Boldy's been terrific, and so have the Wild. So sneaky good team heading into the playoffs. Number 6, Toronto, 6-3-1 in their last 10. Number 5 is New Jersey Devils have struggled a bit. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They've dropped a few spots. The New York Rangers are hot as a firecracker with Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, 8-1-1 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. Vegas is 3rd. They are 8-2 in their last 10. They played 4 goaltenders in 4 games, which was the first time ever. And Jack Eichel, I saw, is their leading scorer. He's like 77th in the league. So they have their top scorer is 77th in the league, and they've had terrible goaltending issues, and they're still first in the division.
Well, Bruce Cassidy is bringing that structure to the defensive end. You get that defensive structure and do that end the right way. Do that the right way. You can win some games.
Are we coming down to Montgomery and Cassidy head to head for the Jack Adams? We could be.
Could very well be, but if Montgomery doesn't win it, it is a joke.
It is a joke. It really is.
Well, most people pick the Bruins to not make the playoffs.
Right.
If people forget this, they picked the Bruins to not be a playoff team, and they're running away with the President's Trophy as we speak. So if Montgomery doesn't win it, there should be an investigation into the league.
There really should be. I mean, people were really thinking they may dip and not make the playoffs.
Yeah, because of the injuries and all that stuff, and the team getting older and so forth. Yeah, they thought they would dip severely, and it just hasn't happened. And they've been, obviously the best team in the league for the entire year.
They have. All right, number 2 is Carolina. They're up a spot. They are up over 100 points, and then Boston is now 57-12-5. 119 points, and cruising, and hopefully resting some players as they begin the final stretch here of 8 games until the playoffs. So there's your power rankings for this week.
Yeah, they certainly should be resting people. You know who else should be resting people is these teams. They should rest all their players so they lose the rest of their games. These are the Bruins, Benders, Bedard, Tankapalooza teams. And coming in at number 30, Chicago, who's doing things correctly. They've lost 6 in a row.
Nice job.
Just losing games.
Excellent.
They should be losing games, and they're doing things the right way to try to get Connor Bedard. Number 31, the Columbus Blue Jackets have lost 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They will play the Bruins tomorrow night, Thursday night. Columbus is trying to lose. The Bruins, trying to win, I guess. They want to pick up victory number 58 and so forth. But Columbus did this the last time. Like that game, Columbus played them really tough.
They did.
And they should have been losing on purpose, but apparently the guys on that team did not get the memo.
Nope.
So we'll see how that game goes. Columbus, has lost 2 in a row now, but seemed to get up for the Bruins, I guess. And then coming in at number 32, your Montreal Canadiens. The Arizona Coyotes now with more points than Montreal.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Like Montreal, was kind of middle of the pack for some of the year and have really hit the skids again. And they are really in the mix for Bedard now. I mean, they're 13 points out of the last. They get a couple of ping pong balls, and who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I mean, they're hopping in. They're doing it. They're doing it the right way. And if tell you what, if you wanna reignite the Bruins Canadiens rivalry, throw Connor Bedard up there in Montreal and let that thing light a spark to that rivalry, because that would be fun as hell.
You know what? I thought of this today. First glance, I'm like, I don't want Montreal to get him. But then I thought, you know what? After watching the Montreal-Boston game this past week, I'm like, I kind of want them to get him because that makes them more relevant. And let's go fucking have a rivalry again.
I want the rivalry back. I want it back. I want it to be nasty. I want to see a a top tier talent like him come in and be like a McDavid in the division and cause problems for everyone and have a real rivalry again. So I'm kind of with you. I think Bedard going to Montreal, as much as I would hate it, because I know he would kill us. But I think it would be fun to kind of get that rivalry, stoked back up again.
I'm with you. I think they should. I think it would be great. I think actually to get Montreal back in the mix with Bedard. All right, prospect spotlight, and it's Trevor Kuntar, who signed a 2-year entry-level deal, $867,000 per year for 2 years. He leaves Boston College as a junior, and we had 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points, 34 games this season for Kuntar. And we'll see if he signs the amateur tryout or not. But else, we'll see, or if he just enters rookie development camp and goes back to Providence next season. We'll see.
Yeah,
I think it's a good guy to have in the mix. He's a 3rd-round pick in 2020, and I think that he's a guy who is coming along, and I think he'll end up being an NHL player at some point. And hopefully he can be a good bottom 6 guy for them.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
he might be
where his role will be with the Bruins.
All right, poll time this week. We had a poll out. Will David Pastrnak surpass Cam Neely's 55 goals to have the most goals in a season for the Bruins since the 1990 season? He has 52 now with 8 games to play, and 227 votes. Yes, had 86%. And the no's 14%. Some of the write-ins say that they thought that Pastrnak might take a game or 2 off, which could hinder those chances. But it would be nice. It would be cool to see him get to 56 and get the most goals since Espo back in the day.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him do it. Just because, you don't see. I mean, it's pretty rare to see, outside of McDavid right now and Ovechkin maybe. You don't see guys score, guys will hit 50 occasionally, but it's usually like 50, 51. Like you don't see 55, 60, 65 goals. So anytime you start to get up into the mid 50s and that kind of thing, like that's kind of exciting. So I like to see that stuff. I've always said, you've always said, like more goals is more fun. So let's score more goals. Let's score as many as we can and get Pasta, up there on the all-time list.
Sure. Yeah, let's not disallow goals anymore. Let's score the goals. And back in the day with like McGillney had 76 or Solani, and these guys had in the 70s. McDavid has 60 this year and had a terrific year, 143 points in 75 games.
They said that the only guys that have over 140 points in like the last 25 or 30 years, it's Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and Connor McDavid. And that's it.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Especially in today's game to have.
Sure,
you could have 150 points.
Yeah.
And that's
how about the Oilers possibly having 3 guys with 100 points in the same team?
Yeah, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has 100, right?
He doesn't not yet.
He's coming.
He's very close. He's like 98, 97, somewhere around.
Yeah, he's had a really good year. I mean,
he's had a really good year. But you know what though? And this is why people are like, he's had a good year, but let's settle down, because he has 50 power play points. 50.
50.
50. So he basically passes the puck to McDavid or Draisaitl, and they do something with it, and then score or assist or whatever, and he gets a point. So
he goes somewhere else, and he won't have that production.
Right. That is correct.
Yes. Although he has 50 power play points, you should come to the Bruins.
Yeah, right.
Some power play points.
I tell you, I would take him.
I'll tell you what, and his name's popped up here and there the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, with the Bruins sometimes. And yeah, I wouldn't mind him. I mean, I don't know what you would need to do to get him, money wise or asset wise, but
it'd probably be like a DeBrusque and
it would be top roster guys.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, week ahead for the Bruins: March 30th versus Columbus, April 1st at Pittsburgh.
April Fools.
It's still Pittsburgh though. And then the next night, another back-to-back because we love them so.
Do
April 2nd.
Good travel. Good
At
times.
St. Louis. Let's go to Pittsburgh and then at St. Louis the next night. Let's do that. Go to InsideTheRink.com for Bruins Benders merchandise. Follow us at Bruins Benders on all sorts of social media. Rate and review on Apple and subscribe and follow on the podcast platform. Sign up for ESPN Plus at InsideTheRink.com/ESPN and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code ITR to get 200 bonus dollars. And hey, everybody have a great week and go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.